Good morning, everybody. My name's Kimberly. Welcome to my day. I decided that I would do another sort of set of videos covering, a day in the life, if you like. I'm sure that lots of people are interested in what it's like to own your own business, to do the kinds of things that I do, which is, if you aren't aware, I have a four-wheel drive tour business that I started in 2014, that finished in, started in 2004, that finished in 2014 when my life got turned upside down. I restarted it about a year ago. So I run outback tours, but I also train people to drive. Right at the moment, the most work I've got is how to teach people to tow caravans, and I weigh caravans and do driver training. So that keeps me very busy, and that business started back up again after a 9 and a bit year break, and it's not the only thing that I do. I actually still work full time. I live out here in this house that I rent. It's on a farm, and it allows me to have the space I need to do things. I'm also a glider pilot. I was a flying instructor, chief flying instructor of a gliding club, and my break times used to be pretty much filled up with gliding, except right at the moment my aircraft is in need of a refinish, as it's called. So that's something you might get a peek at as well as I go through this kind of day in the life of a four-wheel drive tour company business owner. Well, it's a lovely morning here. It's actually blue. There's a little bit of fog on the hills in the distance. I don't know if you can see that. And my morning's going to start with taking the bins in because they've been out beside the road and it's time to put them back where they belong. Well, I think we need to put some lights on here. The sun is just starting to come up. Let me see if you can see it there. It's a lovely morning. And I've got a few jobs to do in the house this morning. And I've got quite a bit of cleaning up to do from a rather busy weekend, so I'll do some of that. But the first thing I'm going to do is make myself a cup of coffee. Well, the coffee's made. And one of the first jobs I've got to do is do a little bit of planning. The things that I guess probably makes sense to you is that there's a lot of planning required in the kind of life that I lead. So one of the first things I've got to do today is some of that planning. Fortunately, I'm getting a little bit of reflection from the lights here, but we'll see what we can do. Believe it or not, my life is planned out week by week, and presently is every single week of my life is planned out to 2027, which is when I intend to retire. So I don't know if you kind of have thought about that, but I run a business which involves hiring venues and delivering training and delivering outback tours. It's important that people can book, sometimes several years ahead. I want to go on a holiday. I've always wanted to do the Canning Stock route. I can't do it this year. Maybe I can do it in 2 years' time. And they'll go ahead and they'll book. And I need to advertise these things a long way ahead of time. So I would typically be planned about 2 years out. But because 2027 is when I intend to retire, and I'd like to be able to, get away from my business, sell it to someone else, for example, then I've planned it right out till 2027. So as you can see, although the light's in a bit of the way here, most of my weekends are taken up with LTT, Learn to Tow, in various locations. And then we get into the touring season where we've got the Simpson Desert, Women's Simpson Desert, A River and so on. But look, I've got the rest of the year to plan out today. So I best get in and start doing that. Now you may be asking, why doesn't she have an electronic calendar? Well, of course I do. we run a booking system called Resdi, and that is where the planning up to 2027 has been done. My job now is to transfer that information across to that board, and the reason for that is the Resdi calendar is okay for looking at a week or a month, and I'm sure you're used to seeing electronic calendars. They're not always the greatest thing for looking at long-term planning. And the wall planner is great because I get a phone call, I don't have to fire up Resdi, I can just look on the wall and say, oh yeah, the date for that is this. So that's the reason for the wall planner. And it actually doesn't live in this office, it lives in my other office. What? You have another office? Yeah, so this is an old farmhouse, and I selected this place I'm in at the moment now, this room, as my office quite a while ago. But as you can see, it's all windows and it's not air conditioned. So in winter, it's a great office, but in summer, it's quite unbearably hot. And I did get myself a small portable air conditioner, but I found out they're completely useless. And this is a great office for me because while I'm working, whether I'm working on tour stuff or whether I'm working in my full-time job, I've got my all my radio equipment here, and so I can listen to what's happening on the radio. I'm a bit of a radio nut, so that allows me to kind of sit here and listen to what's going on. So let's have a look at that. This is my amateur radio equipment, and so we've got a whole bunch of sound equipment, a studio monitor, a radio, a bit fancier than the one in the car, some computers for doing logging but also doing work on, antenna tuner, various interfaces, and a big amplifier that takes me up to full legal limit for Australia. And I should actually be doing a little bit of amateur radio because the solar conditions, although we've got geomagnetic storm happening at the moment, we've got a planetary KP of 3, we do have a really good solar flux, which means that higher frequencies like 10 meters would be working really well. And as you can see, the reason for that is lots of sunspots. So this is a little interface called Ham Clock that I use. It's also, as you can see, tracking the International Space Station. Yep, I'm a total nerd. On the wall over here is the 2022 planner that has to come down, and the 2023 will go up in its place. Okay, so there's my 2023 all planned out. Time to put it up on the wall. It's about 7 AM. Time to have some breakfast, I think. So, the coffee's made, let's go for a walk. Now, one of the things that might become obvious to you as you continue to watch this channel is that I'm an early riser, and I always have been, and thankfully that I am, because I've got a lot of stuff to get done every single day, as you'll soon realise. And it's great to be able to get a lot of it done before, you know, I have to start work, my paid work, if you like, my full-time job, which hopefully, as I said, will be finishing up as soon as my business kind of gets to the point where I can allow that to happen. So, one of the things I've got to catch up on is my veggie garden. I live, as I said, out on a farmhouse, and just looking at the veranda, looks like I've got to sweep the veranda as well. I live out here in this lovely spot, and my veggie garden is over there, and I need to kind of get in and do a bit with it in the next couple of days. So I always, when I own my own place, I always like to get up early in the morning, take a coffee down to the garden, and just have a look at what jobs need to be done in the next few days. So that's one of the things I'm going to do right now. I don't have a very big veggie garden here, and it's likely I'm going to have to move out in a few months' time, probably about 8 months' time. So I'm not investing any more in developing it. And right now it's in between a couple of crops. So over here we've got our cucumbers growing in this tub and on this trellis. And that trellis gets used for lots of different things. Right now it's cucumbers. Here we've got some squash. And I did plant some more squash, but the rabbits got in and chewed the baby plants. It's not been a good year for corn. My last crop of corn was brilliant, but this is struggling a bit. So I've planted a bunch of beans in amongst it, including snake beans, and hopefully we can get somewhere with those. The other half of the garden is overgrown now. It was dedicated to cabbages. The grass is taking over, so I've got to get in and fix all of that up. It's not looking real flash. I've got to pack up that netting. The only thing over here that's doing any good is the artichokes. And I've never grown artichokes. I'm not exactly sure when I've got to pick them. I guess I'll work it out. Here in this veggie garden, the grass is taking over a bit as well. And the capsicums have not done well. They're just starting to come good, but the little one over there with the capsicum on it is struggling. The cherry tomatoes have done okay. The grosselices, they're not producing very big plants. I did improve the soil, but I think we had a really odd year weather-wise. Hopefully they'll come good. There's a few nice tomatoes starting to show there now. A couple more flowers. I've got to do some pruning. I've got to make sure that they're well supported as well. So we come over here. Here's my next crop of tomatoes. It'll probably be the last crop before we run out of warm weather, I suppose. We might get one more in. Corn over here that I've killed off because it just wasn't working. The soil, I think, here is pretty poor on this side of the house. So I think I'm going to just keep improving it over time and see how we end up. Okay, so that's the veggie garden. I love coming out here and having a look. And what I learned is that the rabbits are still here. Well, we might have to have rabbit for dinner. Okay, so that's the garden side of things. Got a little bit of mowing to do and a little bit of kind of TLC for the garden. While we're on the subject of the garden, this herb bed is looking very secondhand. We've got some really puny looking basil here. The thyme is doing well. Everything else is kind of not doing so well. This is perennial basil, and I think the soil needs some improving as well. It's just doing very poorly. I've got a big mess to clean up here because I've got this little caravan over here which the kitchen has been gutted in, and I had to clean up my shed from when I was sanding my aircraft wings in there, and I've just made a big mess here that I've got to go and clean up. So that might be a job for later on today when it cools off after I've done my normal kind of 9 to 5. All right, so there we are. That's a big mess to clean up. A little bit of gardening happening. It's all happening at once. One of the other jobs I have to do is I have to continue to work on my Prado here, affectionately known as the Harpy. And if you've been following along the women's mechanical videos, you'll know about this. I've just replaced the timing belt, and I was in the process of getting it all reassembled when I realized I'd put the wrong belts in the timing cover. So I've got wrong bolts in the timing cover, I should say. There's a bolt way down here that's really hard to get at. There is nowhere in the world that I'm going to take all the radiator out again, especially now that I've got the coolant in there. So I've got to find a way to get that bolt out and replace it with the correct one. I've also got some more work to do here, injectors and other things, but for the moment I've put the intercooler back on, and hopefully we can get around to doing the rest of it fairly shortly. If you're wondering why the headlights are out of the Harpy, well, that's easy. Headlights are out because it had one broken kind of mount on one of the headlights. And I was going to glue it all up and fix it all up, and then I thought, you know what? I'm really unhappy with the performance of the headlights on the Prado 120, so I'll upgrade to projectors and see if they help, because I do a fair bit of nighttime driving. Alright, so that's another project that we have to work on. Maybe not today, I think we'll be a little bit too busy today, but we'll see. We might be able to get back to it when it's nice and cool later in the afternoon and have a go at doing those bolts. Although thinking about it, I need a bit of light. We'll see. We'll work something out. So back to my very messy desk, which is another thing I have to clean up. And it's time to get some things finalised for this weekend's jobs. So this weekend I'm doing some towing training. Unfortunately, I'm not very heavily booked, which is disappointing. I've got to go to Tamworth Gunnedah region, and I've got to go to Dubbo Gilgandra region to deliver learn to tow training. I've also got a doctor's appointment on Wednesday by the look of it. Although, has that moved now? I think it's moved. I'll have to double check, won't I? Let me see. Doctor's appointment. Oh no, I've got a doctor's appointment on Wednesday. I don't know about you, but I always seem to be out of paper in the printer. Okay. Nearly time to start work on my full-time job, so I better get the computer fired up there and get to work. It's morning tea time. I've been slaving away there in my normal 9-to-5 job. I'm going to take a small break from morning tea. It's time for me to get onto YouTube and just do a quick upload, or actually I'm actually going to do a quick edit of a video and then have it render while I'm working this afternoon, the rest of this morning and this afternoon, and then later on, maybe lunchtime, I'll get a chance to see how it's going, and if it's ready I'll upload it. If it's not, I'll wait till this evening to do so. And I just had a phone call, and I wish I'd have caught it, but I didn't know how to call him back. It was Grant from Keep It Glider Tech, who is doing the work on my sailplane, on my aircraft, and unfortunately in transit to his place, one of the aileron pins has come out. The ailerons are not attached because we're doing some work on the wings, and the aileron pins I thought were secure in their little mounts, but unfortunately one of them has dropped out, so I'm up for some expense there. I've got to get somebody, or he's going to get somebody to make a new aileron pin. Just another day in my life. Anyway, while we're waiting for some stuff to happen on the computer over there with the video, we're going to make ourselves a cuppa, and we're going to attend to a couple of jobs. Now you might have noticed that I've changed clothing. I took the ratty old denim dress off that I was wandering around the yard in earlier this morning and put on an equally ratty red dress. Anyway, one thing I've got to do is I've got to sweep down my veranda, and I've got to put my swag away. I've got my swag here, and I've got to put the mattress in it and store it flat. I don't like to keep my swags rolled up forever. It tends to make the mattress kind of really misbehave when you kind of put it out on the ground. It's all curled up. So I'll get in and do a little bit of cleaning down of my veranda and put that swag away. So I'll go get the blow off from the shed, and I'll probably have to hose the veranda as well. the very messy shed. I'm doing all the work on the Prado in. Blower, blower, blower. That's not the blower I want. This is the blower I want. But still, let's get that one. You can see the blower is covered in white dust. That's the gel coat off the wings of my aircraft. Because I was using the shed to sand the wings of my aircraft, and white gel coat dust is everywhere. So now I've got a bit of tidy up to do on the veranda. It looks like I'm going to run out of time to do it during my morning tea break. So what I'll do is I'll just put the blower here for now, get prepped to do it at lunchtime. In the meantime, I'm just going to drop back and have a look at the Prado, because I'm feeling buoyant enough to have a go at the timing cover nut. Do while I'm waiting, and while I've got a few minutes left, I'll make myself a cup of coffee in a minute, or a cup of tea, one or the other. I'm just going to dash back to the Prado because I felt like there was enough light there for me to maybe have a go at getting that timing cover bolt in. So let's see if I can do that. Okay, so I left it a little bit earlier with this ratchet on it, and I've got to do a bit of fiddling to get in the right place, but I think I can do it. So I did manage earlier to just get the bolt into place, I think anyway. Got to work around the fan, which is really hard to do. But I think I've got it into place. I have, look at that. So now if I get the little ratchet, try to work around the belt and the fan, should be able to tighten it. I thought this was going to be hours long, this job. Instead it's minutes. Oops, don't round off the nut. Oh, that's beautiful. So there's one more to do down the bottom. I'm not going to crawl in the dirt in this dress. I will do that one later, but I feel good about that. You tend to get a little bit distracted, but it's really important when you're as busy as I am. If you're feeling particularly buoyant about something and it's ready to go, and you think you can do a job that you thought was going to take hours, you think you can do it in a couple of minutes and get a win, then it makes you feel even better and you can move on to other things. So let's get back to work, my full-time job. Back to the full-time job. Got to deal with a couple of emails, got to get some project planning done. I won't give you the full details, but I work as a project manager essentially for a redesign of aged care. I typically work in difficult kind of change management, either as a change manager, project officer, project manager, that kind of role. And although I really, really enjoy it and I love the company I'm with at the moment, ultimately I want to go and just do what I used to do, which is run my business full-time. Having suffered the big loss that I suffered, losing millions of dollars worth of assets, 2 homes and all the rest, and ending up homeless, and coming to Sydney just 7 years ago with 3 items of clothing and $400, I'm really keen to kind of get back to what I believe I'm good at and just work on that. But for now, these guys are really good to work for. I need to get back to work. Of course, one of the things that always happens when you're working away in your office is the phone just keeps ringing. So I've had a couple of phone calls this morning, but they were really worthwhile. The first one was the pin missing on my glider, which I've already mentioned. The second one was someone telling me that the location for my Learn to Tow sessions in Newcastle was the middle of Newcastle City, which is not where we do the training, as you can imagine. So I had to go and quickly edit the booking system to show the correct location, which is the Morisset Showgrounds. And then phone just rang. Now it was Graham from Westprint Maps. Now I've been dealing with Westprint Maps for a very long time, and I'd actually ordered a replacement copy of Crossing the Dead Heart, book about Cecil Madigan's expedition. When I became homeless, I lost everything I owned. A lot of stuff was in storage, and I just simply couldn't afford to pay to keep it stored. So we've gone and replaced that, and it's going in the mail today, so that's good news. What else? I've got to get back to my job now. Okay, I better start on cleaning this veranda down. It's lunchtime. So I live on a farm, as I said, and it's right beside a road that goes up to a national park and a lake that people like to frequent during the holidays, etc. There's a dirt road coming into my house, and there's quite a bit of traffic because the owner of the property, which is a fairly decent sized property, is building his own house up the road. So consequently, there's a lot of dust even on the walls, the exterior walls of the house. So from time to time, I have to not only blow it down or sweep it, I prefer to blow it down because I don't have much time. The place gets really, really dirty, and I've got to blow it down and wash it. So how dirty that is. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Got it washed down fairly well. Looking pretty good, I think. So now it's time for some lunch and then back to work. My full-time job. Well, I didn't even get a chance to grab anything to eat yet. I've already got an inquiry. The booking system sends out automatic reminders, and sometimes I'm a bit slow to do the banking reconciliation, so I occasionally get people who are concerned that I'm charging them again after they put their deposit in. So I best address that right away. Well, I just escaped for a minute to go for a bit of a walk around to give my head a chance to clear, and I noticed that my trestle had started to fall apart from my cucumbers. So I'm just going to grab, not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's just got to hold the cucumbers up. As usual, I've got to grab opportunity to do jobs while I can. I've just got the car ready. I've just cooled it down a little bit inside the cabin by putting the aircon on. But I've got some parts here that arrived in the mail, so I'll deal with that issue straight away. This cover here, it won't stay on anymore because the little rubber pieces are gone. So let's replace the little rubber pieces so the cover doesn't get lost. You can see there's one here, and that's what they look like when they're all no good anymore. There's a few more of them. I've got to find exactly where they all are, but if I look under the cover I'll be able to find them. There's only two of this type and there's one big one at the back. So the big one at the back sort of slides into place and the other two at the front just drop down. So we're all set now. Should be able to just get that hose out of the way and put the car on. So I'll give it a real quick and dirty detail while I'm here. I don't know if dirty and detail go together, but anyway, that's what it's getting. It's getting a dirty detail. I've got to do a lot more work on this car yet, but as you can probably tell, I've got a little bit going on. So while I'm here, I'm just going to check that coolant level. Oh, it's good, very good. And of course, it's got a race chip. That's looking a bit better. I'll do that back section when I give the car a bit of a clean. Happy with that, the cover looks good. We're ready to go to town. Before we do, let's go check the mail. Don't know if I've got any mail today. I have ordered a few things, but I think they're a few days away yet. They're mostly for the Prado. You know, I might have some bills. Don't we all have bills? Nothing. That's good news. Okay. Let's head to town. As I say, it's about 14 kilometers into town. And the little Golf is ideal for this sort of running around, but I do have to get another vehicle other than the Prado, and the Golf is just a little bit small for what I want to do. I have to carry my scales for weighing caravans, and I have to drive, you know, sometimes 7 hours and further. I drive from here to Melbourne to do that, and I really can't fit the scales in the Volkswagen, and I really don't want to pay for the fuel for the Prado. Diesel has dropped a little bit in price, but recently it cost me $600 more to take the Prado to Melbourne than to take the Golf. Not $600, $600 more. So I'm not very keen on taking the Prado. Plus I want to keep the kilometers down. It's already up to 300,000, which is more than where I wanted it to be at this point in time. I have to get a fair few seasons of outback touring out of it. And that's the reason you see me doing all that maintenance on it, is just to make sure that this thing is going to be super reliable. I can't risk having it break down. So anyway, it's the golf for now, and into town we go. We're in town, let's go get what we need. Just need a few grocery items. In particular, I need some bread mix to make some bread tonight, but that's about all, and a battery. I got 2 of the 3 items I needed and about 104 others. So now I've got to go and see if I can find the battery. That's the one item I couldn't find. Alright, so car's loaded up. Let's go see if we can find one of these batteries. I left the shop with the wrong battery and didn't even realise. I was so busy talking to the young fellow in there about days gone by when I did front of house for rock and roll bands. Anyway, one of the things I managed to pick up while I was in town, I'm just trying to get out of the sun there, they're so hot, is some trim clips for Harpy. I've got to put this big trim back on the front. There you go, so they're not identical to the Toyota clips, but it looks a lot better. Toyota clips are just marginally bigger, I notice, but they go to work, and that's good. Okay, let's get these groceries inside. Get the groceries packed away. One of the things I really had to do was make the bread, so that's ready to go now. And of course the other thing I had to do was to put the new battery in the verniers. Got a bit of time to read a couple of emails and got some great news today regarding Peggy. That's the name I give my glider. Her registration is PII, Papa India, India. Well, the full rego is Victor Hotel, Papa India, India, but we're in Australia, so PII. And Grant says, PII is going well. Have the glass on the underside of the wings, so that means that all those cracks are dealt with. The 4 patches have been profiled flat. There's patches in the wings. The oops, where I sanded badly, on the trailing edge at the aileron cutout has been repaired, and the corner of the wing root, there's a little chip taken out of the wing root. Well, you know, a little piece taken off where it tapers to the fuselage. Is under repair. Had a good start today, Grant. Beautiful, that's great news. You know, I used to hate daylight savings when I lived in North Queensland, and with very good reason. We'll have that discussion another day. It's not about latitude, it's about longitude and the Terminator. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. But anyway, I've got a few tomato seedlings left over and really had nowhere to put them, so I had to dig out that corn that I showed you before, and so daylight savings gives me an opportunity after work to do this kind of stuff, whereas in North Queensland you'd have to be in the air conditioning, and in any case there's not much to be gained. Okay, so unfortunately the seedlings have been suffering a little bit because I've been trying to keep them watered but been too busy. Best thing I can do is get them in the ground so I don't forget about them. Now I might have a few too many for that spot, but hey, at least I'll save a few of them from dying in the laundry from lack of water because I forget they're there. Yeah, so that's the tomato seedlings planted. A few of them anyway. I'll water them in with a bit of nutrient. Hopefully we can keep the rabbits away from them. Gardening's done. What a spectacular afternoon. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Anyway, I'm going to bring the washing in. rest for the wicked, as they say. It really is quite a beautiful place at this time in the afternoon. The owner of the property's up there at the yards. He's feeding the weaners, and the sun has started to go down on that beautiful looking hill, and that's the property owner's son's house over there. A lot of people might complain about the rustic buildings, but I think they just add character to the place. It would have been a shearing shed once upon a time. Anyway, this is the place where I live. I need to harvest these artichokes. You know, they seem to be just opening up. I don't know much about artichokes. If anybody else does, let me know. But I think I'm going to harvest them and see what I can get out of them like that. I'm just scared they're going to open right up and I'll get a flower out of them, and that will be the end of them. Tell me if I'm doing the wrong thing. Oh, I cut one off. I cut one of the buds off. That was silly. The shed's shut up. Harpy's put to bed. Gonna look the Volkswagen, and it's time to call it a day. I've got a Zoom meeting at 7:30 p.m. It's nearly that now, and I've got to prep some dinner. So I'll go inside and get the dinner prepped and get ready for the Zoom meeting. Living and working as I do, I don't have a lot of time. I'm going to prep about 4 meals, same meal each evening, sweet and sour chicken in this case. So we're going to heat the water up for the rice, a few things, and get the meal prepped, and then we can call it a day. I love growing things in my garden. I love growing your confidence to travel in remote areas, but there's one thing I can't grow without your help, and that's this channel. So make sure you like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and we'll see you next time.